What's going on, my friends, my people, my haters, everyone in between? If you're stopping by my channel for the first time ever, this is Passion for Truth here. And my goal with every single video that I do is just really to get people to start thinking critically, to open their minds and start asking the right questions. Because it really is this simple. When you really start asking those questions and start thinking critically. Stop telling yourself that smarter people have come before you and figured all this shit out. Because there was an agenda from the get-go to pull the wool over our eyes. And it started with indoctrination camps, public school. I mean, they get us from the 5 years old, when we first step foot in the kindergarten class, or first grade, when you first start to learn about the globe. So it's not our fault that we were fooled. It's not our fault that we fell for it. I mean, they caught us at such an early age that we couldn't, it was before we could think rationally. It was before we could ask the right questions, the tough questions, the simplistic questions, right? So it's not your fault that you were fooled. So you got to kind of get over that. You got to drop the ego. And I know it's a tough thing to do. It's something that I had to do. Everybody laughs at Flat Earth the first time that they hear it. It's the most ridiculous thing because we've been indoctrinated our whole lives. For some of us, we were indoctrinated a lot longer. For me, it was 35 years. 35 years, I believe, that I lived on a spinning ball. So I had to overcome a lot. And most people do have to overcome a shit ton of indoctrination. And as simple as it is, once you do see it, you still, I'm just speaking from me personally, it probably took me about 3 to 4 years, probably close to 4 years before I actually said, Earth is definitely flat. I had so many doubts. Even as simple as it is, of all the research that I did, it took me that long to figure it out and say, this is freaking common sense. I don't know how people don't see it. Even though the truth was smacking me for that long. All the research that I did, I still had the doubts in the back of my head because that indoctrination, that programming, all the propaganda that you've been fed your whole life is deep. It runs so deep. And you have these doubts, The crazy thing is like when I first started diving into this, to Flat Earth, it didn't take me long. It probably only took me a couple of days, and I was like, I think the Earth might be flat, But even after all that, for several years, I had doubts. I kept doubting myself and doubting, what my God-given senses was telling me, what the scriptures tell me, what my research had told me. I still had doubts. I don't have those doubts anymore. Now I've come to the point where it's like, I don't understand how people don't see this because it really is so simple. And I'm going to get into the topic of the video of what I mean by just how simple this really is. And if you start asking the right questions and thinking critically, you'll figure it out. And it shouldn't take you that long at all. It should really come to you like that. Right? So here's kind of the topic of the video. Why does NASA always use fisheye lens cameras? You ever ask yourself that? Why do they always use wide angle lenses, GoPros? NASA makes $60 million a day. $60 million a day. You would think that they would give us every kind of view of Earth from space that they possibly could. We're paying them $60 million a day to give us, to do science. They should have every kind of camera known to man on the ISS and all these supposed satellites that are not on balloons, but they are. Okay. You know, why is it? And this is one of the things that really just blew my mind the first time I saw it, was a high altitude balloon footage without a fisheye lens camera. And it shows the flat horizon. And the sun is just like right there, you know? The first time you see that, if you're like me, that was a shocker. It shook me to the core because I'd never seen it before. Because NASA, all they ever give us is the wide angle lens. And you see that curvature. And they try to use that against us, don't they? Even though, like, for instance, like even with the Red Bull space jump, Felix Baumgartner, when they sent him, what was it, about 120,000 feet in the into the atmosphere, and like it looked like he was on the edge of space when he jumped, and everybody, you should know this, like they launched him up on a balloon. This is admitted. Like if you read about it, they'll tell you that he went up on a balloon that was attached to his module that he actually eventually jumped from. They used a wide angle lens, right? So why did they use a wide angle lens for that? I mean, because if they didn't, it would give the game away. Because the first time that you see high altitude balloon footage without a wide angle lens, I just had some birds fly up on my car. Maybe that's a sign or something. I don't know. So yeah. Why were they using wide angle lenses? Because it would give the game away. They did actually, however, if you actually haven't really paid close attention to the footage, there was an actual camera inside the module that when Felix first opened the door, that appears to be a regular lens camera because the horizon out the door looks completely flat. But then when they show you the view outside the module, it's literally a ball. I mean, but if you pay attention to it, he actually did the jump over New Mexico. So everything that you see in the view is New Mexico. So New Mexico takes up the whole ball, guys. We're in planet New Mexico. And the funny thing about it is that normies, the average person, looks at that and says, "Oh, look at that. That's the ball Earth." And they have no idea. They don't know how to think critically, and they can't see the fact that that's New Mexico. It's not. That's all that it is New Mexico. Now think about this too, and maybe some of you guys already know this, and some of you don't. If you're new to the whole conversation, you probably have never thought about this. But when he goes up to 120,000 feet, supposedly, you know, the Earth's rotation should take place. Like that's the other question that I have is like, how high do you have to go up before the Earth's rotation is a factor? No one knows that answer. Like you get all kind of stuff when you Google that. So how high do we have to be up in order for the Earth's rotation to be a factor? Okay, so in Felix Baumgartner's case, check this out. If the Earth is spinning from east to west, like they tell us, and Felix launched up from New Mexico, think about your geological or geographical location here. He launched from New Mexico, and he went up to 120,000 feet, and he literally was up there for like 2.5 hours, I do believe. 2.5 hours, okay? Now, let's think about this critically. If the Earth was rotating 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, or 700 miles an hour, depending on where you're located, let's just cut that in half and say 500 miles an hour. Give them the benefit of the doubt, right? 500 miles an hour. If the Earth was rotating that fast, Felix literally should have landed somewhere in the Pacific Ocean at bare minimum. Because he was up there for 2.5 hours. So when he came back down, he should have been out in the Pacific Ocean somewhere, at minimum. But you know where he landed? And that means west. Like he should have landed several hundred or thousands of miles west of where he went up. But he actually landed about 50 miles east of where he took off when he launched. Globe rotation debunked in the Red Bull spaceball jump. Debunked. Earth doesn't spin. Because winds could have just taken a factor in the reason why he landed 50 miles east of where he took off. So, spinning ball debunked in the Red Bull spaceball jump. Right? If you start thinking critically, this stuff is so simple. Show your friends, like your skeptics or your people that are laughing at you for being a flat earther. Show them a high altitude balloon footage without a fisheye lens, and just ask them, hey, does it look like the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour here? And what about that sun? Does that sun look 93 million miles away in this video footage? You see that hot spot that the sun is producing on the clouds? Would that happen if the sun is 93 million miles away? Yeah, simple things like that when you really start asking the right questions and looking into things with an open mind. It really is this simple, guys. I don't know how people can't figure this out. That's where I'm at. So, hopefully this video did somebody some good, made some sense. If you're anything like me, you struggled with it for a while. But after about 4 or 5 years, you get to a point where you're like, man, now I got to tell the whole world about it. This should be common sense. It really is this simple. Earth is flat and stationary. Government documents say it. The Bible says it. Our God-given senses tell us that it is. All empirical science proves that it is. What else could it be? Why would you go against all of that because some fraudulent company like NASA tells you otherwise? With that, I'll see you guys on the next video. Remember, take care. God bless. Start using that old noggin of yours. Ask the right questions. Think critically. Stop saying people came before me and figured that shit out, and go do the research yourself. Because once you do, you'll never believe the bullshit that you were taught. Peace.